Tonight on Cronkite News, we visit the U.S.-Mexico border to hear from those who have been impacted by the Trump administration's changes to immigration policy.
We asked for asylum to cross to the other side, but it was no longer possible. The application was closed.
Plus, how Arizona's national parks and tourism industry may be affected by the recent layoffs.
Hi everybody, I'm Ben Paris here at Sloan Park in Mesa, the spring training home of the Chicago Cubs. We're checking out one of the most popular destinations in all of the Cactus League.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News. I'm Caitlin Humphrey.
And I'm Max Williams. Thank you for joining us.
Since taking office just over a month ago, the Trump administration has cracked down on immigration.
President Trump has signed several executive orders that make sweeping changes to the immigration system. Cronkite News reporter Leah Phillips traveled to the southern border to see how these changes are affecting lives.
Each month, volunteers from the Phoenix-based nonprofit Esperanza en la Frontera make the trip across the southern border to offer aid in the form of food and clothing to people seeking a better life.
First is love and compassion. Love and compassion for others. So try showing to others, we're one people.
On the Mexico side of the international border, one people comes in the form of hundreds of migrants who seek out the American dream, which may now be fleeting.
Look, the people on the border don't have the American dream. People on the border? No, I don't think so.
The land of opportunity suddenly out of reach for many. With asylum cases already at a backlog, tightened border security is making the already daunting process seemingly impossible.
We asked for asylum to cross to the other side, but it was no longer possible. The application was closed.
Cisneros and her two young daughters left their home with hopes of seeking asylum. But that hope is never a guarantee. She's just one of many we spoke with in Nogales, starting a new life over 1,500 miles from her home in Guerrero, Mexico.
We are angry because we had the hope to cross, but it is no longer possible.
The Nogales sector is the second largest sector in all of America, serving as a symbol to those who aim to cross it and those who aim to guard it.
We protect our communities, we protect the homeland, and it's our job to keep America safe. And we do that by making sure that people don't come across illegally, narcotics don't come into our communities.
On the other side of the wall, U.S. Border Patrol agents are enforcing these new immigration policies.
We saw things in the last 4 years that are different than they are now, and it clearly changed overnight.
Facing their own unique set of challenges while on duty, making decisions that for many are anything but easy.
There's a lot of Border Patrol agents that are on patrol every night, and these are husbands, wives, children, brothers, sisters, and they're out here to make sure America's safe, our communities are safe.
According to CBP, border encounters are down 36% in just 1 month from December to January.
So no longer can people just come across and have this understanding that you're going to be released. That's not the case anymore. You'll be arrested and you'll be removed.
While border agents continue to seek security, migrants are seeking new opportunities.
They don't have opportunities here. That's why, they want to go over there and have a second chance. They have a better life.
Both doing what they can in a system where the border isn't the end point. In some cases, it's just the beginning. In Nogales, Leah Phillips, Cronkite News.
With asylum cases already backlogged, those seeking asylum in the states can expect an even lengthier wait time.
The sound from that brass bell signifies the daily closing of New York's stock market. The stock market is one of many things impacted by Trump's tariffs taking effect today. The Dow fell by over 670 points, or about 1.55%. Currencies were also hit with the value of the U.S. dollar and the Mexican peso sliding. President Trump also imposed an additional 10% tariff on China, raising the total to 20%. The Trump administration said the tariffs are intended to halt the flow of fentanyl into the United States. The Trump administration has also announced a pause on military aid to Ukraine following the tense meeting between Trump and Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. The White House says the pause will last until the president determines Ukraine is willing to commit to peace negotiations with Russia. In a post on social media, President Zelensky called last week's meeting, quote, regrettable, adding he's ready to work with President Trump to ensure peace. This all comes as President Trump delivers his first speech to a joint session of Congress tonight since returning to the White House. Cronkite News reporter Madeline Bates joins us now from our bureau in Washington, D.C. for more of what we can expect from the president's speech. What are the biggest topics that we can expect to hear about tonight?
Ukraine is probably the biggest. We all saw that argument with President Trump and President Zelensky in the Oval Office on Friday. And some of Trump's allies are nervous that he is beginning to align with Russia. Democrats are also concerned with the cost of living. Both Senators Kelly and Gallego have told us that they want him to address that in his speech tonight. Trump also wants more money from Congress to fund deportations and put more of a crackdown on immigration, as he promised in his campaign.
We've seen theatrics at these presidential speeches. One side cheers and the other side sits on their hands. So how's the mood in Congress tonight?
Republicans are strongly behind Trump, and there is a lot of enthusiasm surrounding what he may or may not say tonight. But Democrats are protesting. Some are bringing egg cartons to protest the cost of living and the cost of eggs, and others are bringing mini constitutions to protest his violation of the Constitution. Democratic women have also noted that they will be wearing black and pink to signify their solidarity for one another and their protest against the president.
Thank you to Madeline Bates reporting from our bureau in Washington, D.C.
Taiwan Semiconductor Company has announced a $100 billion expansion into its investment into U.S. chip making here in Arizona. The announcement came from TSMC CEO C.C. Wei during a press conference with President Trump at the White House on Monday. Wei thanked the president for his continued support of TSMC's expansion outside of Taiwan.
For this, all the investment, $165 billion, is going to create thousands of high-paid jobs, as the president just announced. And we are, most important, actually, we are going to produce many AI chips. We are going to produce many chips to support the AI.
The company makes up roughly 90% of the world's chip manufacturing and produces chips for companies like Apple and NVIDIA. And Arizona is home to the only TSMC manufacturing hubs outside of Taiwan.
Back here in Arizona, former journalist Marlene Galan Woods has announced her campaign for Arizona's 1st congressional district. Galan Woods last ran for seat in 2024 but lost during the primary. She intends to run again against incumbent David Schweikert, who assumed office in 2011 and has been serving in various districts since then. Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays endorsed Galan Woods shortly after her announcement. The Phoenix metro area is one of the largest in the United States.
That's right, and it's home to millions of people. But it's also home to thousands of unique plants and animals. We'll introduce you to some of them when we return.
Some wild weather is on the way in the valley. How is this going to affect spring training? Find out more after the break.
Welcome back. Arizona national parks and forests attract millions of visitors every year. Those visitors boost local businesses and fuel the state's economy. But with layoffs at the U.S. Forest Service and Parks Department, the visitor experience could soon change. Emily Fox Million is hitting the trails in Phoenix to explain how these cuts could impact the state's tourism industry.
South Mountain, which is a city park here in Arizona, we've seen dozens of people walking by, riding by on their mountain bikes and hiking with their families and dogs. And it makes sense with beautiful views like this and this gorgeous weather that they'd be out here. But it's important to note that trails like this don't exist and they're not maintained without human beings.
Arizona's sprawling landscapes are a draw for visitors and a vital part of the state's economy. But with layoffs hitting the U.S. Forest Service and Parks Department, some experts warn the economic impact could be felt sooner rather than later.
I think that we're going to start to see the impacts within the next month, quite honestly. If you and I were having this conversation 2 weeks ago, I'd say, oh, we're not going to see the impacts, but so many people have been let go, so many offices have been closed.
According to the Arizona Office of Tourism, more than 40 million people visited the state in 2023, contributing over $28 billion to Arizona's economy. Many of those visitors are drawn to the state's national parks and public lands.
To be able to go to a visitor center and talk to a ranger or talk to somebody who works there and get their, what you would call, human take on the park.
Services like guided tours and educational programs could be cut back. The layoffs come as Arizona prepares for the summer months, a time when outdoor tourism typically peaks at national parks. According to the National Park Service, 4.7 million people visited the Grand Canyon in 2023. The question is, will longer lines and slower permit processing have visitors saying enough is enough?
We know that the predictions are that visitation to the parks this year is going to be even greater than last year. I think the visitors are going to keep coming until they realize that their experiences are going to be affected.
And the parks aren't the only areas impacted.
Tourism supported 177,000 direct jobs in Arizona in 2023. And then when you think of how big tourism is and its impact across the economy, it actually supported 322,000 indirect or induced jobs also.
The National Park Service has announced they are hiring seasonal workers, and visitors will know soon whether it's enough to make their park experience all they've hoped for.
According to the Park Service, restaurants and hotels that are around national parks are the big winners in local economies. Now, obviously, we're not at a national park, but after this, I'm going to go throw on my hiking shoes, and I'm probably going to grab a bite to eat after. In Phoenix, Emily Fox Million, Cronkite News.
Thanks, Emily. Well, if you are planning to go to one of our beautiful parks, you may want to plan for some changes in the weather.
That's right. Quentin Presley joins us now from the Cronkite Weather Center with what we can expect.
Thank you, Max. And if you're a tourist heading over to the valley to hike on our mountains and walk on our trails, I'd recommend waiting until later on in the weekend at Sunday. We have some unsettled weather on the horizon. But first things first, what is tonight going to look like? Let's check out the evening planner. It's about 68 degrees right now, and as the night progresses, it's going to remain in that 63, 60-degree range. But checking out the lows for tomorrow, what is it going to look like when you Arizonans rise and shine? Well, it's nothing out of the ordinary. 58 degrees here in Phoenix, and the northern part of the state seems to be up to code. Now, sizzling up the stove, what are going to be the highs for tomorrow? Well, nothing crazy. It's going to be 80 degrees in Tucson. That'll be our leader. The southern and central part of the state seem to be within that 70-degree territory. But taking a sneak peek at the 8-day forecast, spring training is in full effect, and I'm sure you're wondering, how does this future weather affect how you're going to go see your favorite team at the ballpark? Well, I'll tell you, Thursday and Friday, it's going to get cold, with Friday having a very high chance at precipitation, 70% to be exact. It's going to get warmer as the weekend progresses. Sunday and Monday have very warm skies, and around midweek next week, it's going to be cloudy and warm. Thank you so much for tuning in at the Cronkite Weather Center. I'm Quentin Presley, sending it back to the desk.
Thanks, Quentin. Arizona is home to more than 7 million people, but it's also home to thousands of unique plants and animals. Cronkite News reporter Brandon Muth visited one local festival that celebrates Arizona's unique neighbors living in your very own backyard.
Greeted by birds, snakes, and other creatures, more than 10,000 visitors attended the Tres Rios Nature Festival. There are plenty of activities for all ages, but it was the educational information on topics such as sustainability and ecological relationships that drew the most attention.
They also have a lot about plants like growing and gardening. That was really helpful, especially because it's so hot out here that it's really hard to grow anything. So it's just helpful to have that info from the people that actually know how to grow things in Arizona.
40 exhibitors from throughout the state displayed information about their ongoing environmental work, including nonprofit nature organizations and city and state departments.
In 2024, SRP awarded the City of Avondale Platinum designations for their sustainable water planning and their green business program.
At the festival, vendors like the City of Avondale and others were excited to share sustainable practices to benefit their communities, with demonstrations that not only capture attention, but educate.
We had a young lady come here to our booth last year. She was this tiny. She's about this big now. And she remembered the information we got, and they actually have implemented some of our things. We talked about basins at home. We talked about staying out of some of the basins that they have near their homes and how they can affect them, and the water, and how the water rights work.
Exhibitors love how their information is being remembered and shared. The City of Avondale encourages everyone to celebrate and embrace nature located all around us.
A lot of people don't realize how close they are to nature, and this really gives us a chance to bring people out to the mountainside and show them around.
In Avondale, Brandon Muth, Cronkite News.
Thanks, Brandon. Coming up next, a report from Sloan Park in Mesa, where the Cactus League is in full swing.
Plus, the local man carrying on a family tradition by repairing baseball gloves.
I loved seeing the progress from something that was maybe used and forgotten to something that was new and usable.
And he repairs gloves for everyone from amateur players to the major leagues. His story's next after this quick break.
People have always had trouble trying to put me into a box. A professor, suit and tie is just not me. Without the ocean, I don't know what I would do. You know, the ocean's always been there for me. As Hawaiian people, we believe that the coral is the first living being to come out of the darkness. It's the foundation of our entire lifestyle, and that's what my research is about. What we do is we take photographs of the reef over long periods of time to create models that can tell us what the planet is doing. If we go deaf to what the Earth is telling us, then we'll never be able to live in harmony. If I can get my students excited about protecting the ocean, then they're the ones who are gonna really make the difference. I hope my students realize that I'm not trying to prepare them for something in the distant future. Their time is now at Arizona State University.
Welcome to the Cronkite Sports Report. I'm Genaro Garcia. The Suns are looking to turn things around as they host the Clippers tonight at PHX Arena. The Suns have lost 11 of their last 14 games, including a tough loss to Minnesota on Sunday. They'll try to snap their skid against a Clippers team sitting near the top of the Western Conference. The Suns have struggled with injuries, defensive lapses, and inconsistency on both ends. Defensive breakdowns have led to easy points, while offensive inefficiencies have kept them from competing in high-scoring games. With the team searching for solutions, they know adjustments need to be made quickly. Head coach Mike Budenholzer spoke about handling adversity.
Yeah, probably more double down. Hopefully there's a consistency to the message. There's a consistency to how we approach each day. There's probably philosophically, coaches, players, people have a different idea of, how you should handle adversity, how you should handle struggles.
That's not the only game on tonight, as ASU men's basketball is heading down to Tucson tonight for a rematch against number 24, Arizona. ASU is looking to turn things around after a very rough February where they only won one game. The Sun Devils dropped their first matchup against the Wildcats 81-72 in Tempe, but a lot has changed since then. Injuries and other issues have led to a disastrous season for the Sun Devils, with the biggest loss being that their leading scorer, B.J. Freeman, is no longer with the team. Historically, the matchup has been somewhat of a landslide, with Arizona leading the all-time series 162-87. But the Sun Devils will still fight for the opportunity to play spoiler at McHale Arena tonight. Spring training is well underway in the Valley, and fans have been flocking to the 10 Cactus League stadiums, which are home to 15 Major League teams. If you're heading out to a game in the next 2 days, here are the teams most in demand based on resale pricing. The Dodgers, Angels, and Diamondbacks are among the most expensive tickets for the next 2 days. If you're looking for more of a bargain, you could check out the White Sox, Brewers, or Rangers. Time now to head out to the ballpark as we take a look at one of the most popular venues, Sloan Park, home of the Chicago Cubs, who have claimed the highest attendance in the Cactus League for the past 10 years, which is where we'll find our Ben Paris. Ben, it looks like a beautiful day for a ball game out today, and I'm sure the fans are enjoying the atmosphere out there as well.
That's exactly right, Genaro. It's another beautiful day here at Sloan Park, the spring training home of the Chicago Cubs, where fans have historically had a great experience. It's the park that brings out more fans than any other park in all of the Cactus Leagues. Now, many season ticket holders like to arrive hours early before first pitch of any given game and set up tailgates for all 17 of the Cubs home games during the spring. I spoke to 2 season ticket holders earlier today that said not only do they tailgate for all 11 years here at Sloan Park, but for the previous 30 years for Cubs spring training games here in the Valley.
You sit around, you talk baseball, you don't talk politics, you don't talk business, you don't talk finances, you talk baseball, what's going on with your life. We just love everybody, and I mean, come on, this is heaven, man.
Yep, if we're here, this is where we are. And we have a big group of regulars, but because today is a Tuesday game, it's not quite as crowded as usual.
Now, the weekends here at Sloan Park definitely get very crowded, and the fans this year have been treated to some great memories as the Cubs officially welcome back one of the greatest players in franchise history, the one and only Sammy Sosa. The 7-time All-Star who hit 609 home runs in his major league career returned to Mesa for the first time since his final season with Chicago in 2004 this past week, as Sosa was personally invited by manager Craig Counsell to pour his wisdom on a Cubs organization that expects to compete in October, nearly a decade after their 2016 World Championship. And to say that the man that the fans called Slamming Sammy is happy to be back in the Valley is an understatement.
This ballpark, this company look like a Guinness World. It's incredible. I'm just happy to be here, to be around the players again. I told them that they can use me at any time. I can help anyone or anybody. That's what they're doing right now.
And now to a story about a man whose love for baseball turned into a business. And now he helps take care of and repair a baseball player's most prized possession, his glove. Andres Armenta has the story about this craftsman who creates with care.
The relationship between a glove and its player is personal.
Working out of a small shed in North Phoenix, Chris Petroff spends his days practicing a trade his father taught him. That now attracts business from professional baseball players to beer league aficionados.
I've been doing this now for about 6 years. We've probably, I would say, done in the neighborhood of 5,000 to 6,000 gloves during that time.
For Chris, it's what he calls a 3D puzzle that constantly keeps him engaged.
It just became addicting. I loved seeing the progress from something that was maybe used and forgotten to something that was new and usable.
For the average person, a glove may seem like just another piece of equipment, but that's not quite the case.
For the professional player, these are their tools.
I still go to them, and I haven't taken my glove anywhere else. Everyone likes their glove a certain way, and I think it's real important, and to get it back the way that you gave it to him. And he just gives it back 2 times better.
Now, if you're not a professional, don't worry, Chris has still got you covered. In fact, it's a glove like mine, the one I use for my dad's soft pitch softball league, that can oftentimes be the most enjoyable.
For the amateur player, it's something that brings them joy.
The emotional tie each glove carries fuels the passion that Chris pours into his craft. The faded leather wrapped in memories that he brings back to life.
And when I'm out here in my workshop, hours fly by.
In North Phoenix, Andres Armenta, Cronkite News.
Andres Armenta with that story. We're getting ready to wrap things up here at Sloan Park, but we had to get in the Chicago spirit. I got my hands on a bit of a hot dog. I got to get into regular season hot dog eating form. And that's real great. Honora, we're going to send it back to you in the studio.
ASU football has certainly been doing their part in giving back to the Arizona community. The Big 12 champs held a Meet the Champs Fan Fest night at Texas Roadhouse in Tempe. Players and coaches came out to the restaurant to meet with ASU supporters and sign Sun Devil memorabilia for free. Along with the meet and greet, fans and players both enjoyed playing fun tailgate games in the parking lot, with some even learning how to line dance. For the players, it was a great way to give back to the fans who supported them all year.
You know, it's a no-brainer to want to give back and support one another and have each other's back, and to have the fan base here in the Valley and showing our support for what they've done with us, been with us for the whole season, what they've done for us, it's a very nice thing to do.
10% of the restaurant sales that day went toward the Sun Angel Collective, which is the NIL group that ASU alum James Harden donated 6 figures to. That's it for the Cronkite Sports Report. I'm Renato Garcia. We'll be right back after a quick break.
When I was younger, there were no engineers around me, so I had to become my own role model. At ASU, I wasn't just learning to be an engineer, I was actually engineering. And graduating, I already had real-world jobs lined up. Before ASU, my goal was to be a strong, confident woman. And when I left, I became a strong, confident engineer.
That's it for tonight's edition of Cronkite News. I'm Caitlin Humphrey.
And I'm Max Williams. Thanks for joining us. And to see top Arizona stories anytime, log on to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.